Prepare yourself for Earthling Entertainment, the perfect blend of paranormal and pop culture, with your host, Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Earthling Entertainment with Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
Hey, I'm the host they let out of the basement once a week, Joe Wakefield.
And I'm Ryan Lang.
Hello. So, those of you joining us for the first time, what we do here is a little bit of the spooky, a
Yep.
little bit of the creepy.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's cryptozoology, other times it's ghosts or myths, but it's always spooky. That is followed by a segment called Disclosure Discussion. It's all about aliens.
I'm just asking questions. Today we actually have some new UFO footage, so it's pretty exciting. That's the kind of stuff we like to talk about.
Excellent. And then the second half of the show, the latter half, if you will, is all dedicated to pop culture and entertainment. Sometimes we have headlines or movie news, or we do a quiz, or we've had some really fun interviews.
We have.
It's all video games or movies or music, and it's all pop culture and fun, and that connected with our first segment, which is all spooky, come together and make the moon pie of a podcast known as Earthling Entertainment. Welcome.
Don't set your microwave too high when you put in your moon pie.
So, guys, if you like what you hear today, definitely tell a friend. Spread the word. Also, if you hit us up at Earthling Entertainment Podcast, gmail.com, and you want to send us your a mailing address, we will send you promotional stickers of Earthling Entertainment.
That's right. We got new stickers and they're sweet.
They're very cool. And they're waterproof and they work outside for, like they said, we guarantee them up to 7 years. So
right.
we don't recommend you put them in places that'll get you in trouble. But if you put them in very cool places outside, they should stay.
I mean, put them where thou wilt.
Yeah, it's not our fault. We're
I'm
giving
just
these stickers
saying.
out. I'm just saying.
We're just spreading the word.
All right, guys.
You know?
And then today is going to be a fun day because at the end of our show, we are doing a spoiler discussion of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. And so we're doing it at the end. So anyone who doesn't want the movie spoiled or hasn't seen it yet, just, stop listening at that point. We'll give you a warning. And those of you who want to hear our thoughts, and we have some thoughts.
We have some thoughts.
Yeah. And, we're not overly negative people. I liked the movie, so there's a spoiler right there. But we have some other things we want to talk about, and that is all coming up on today's episode of
Earthling Entertainment.
Wow, wow, wow. Yes. Well done. Yes, that's how we do it, right?
That's right.
So I decided that at the beginning of the show, I would just take a few minutes to talk our listeners and Ryan into trying season 2 of Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Now, they released a couple episodes right off the bat, and I think they have 4 out right now. And this show has tightened up the pacing. They've cut out those storylines that weren't going anywhere. They've sped up the narrative. We get a Sauron he's not calling himself Sauron, but the point is it's actually Sauron walking around. There's real stakes. And I encourage you to watch it. Ryan, what is the likelihood? Because I know you weren't happy with season 1. What is the likelihood of you giving this a chance?
Because I'm gonna have to watch season 1 again. Because for the most part, I didn't even really understand what the hell was going on. You have since explained a lot to me that I think if I were to watch it now, I'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? And so then I could jump into season 2. So it's gonna take some time.
Fair enough. Well, a lot of J.R.R. Tolkien lore is in this. The first season, it kind of felt like they expected you to know a lot of stuff without explaining a lot of stuff. Whereas the season 2, they kind of build on what was set up with season 1, but it was kind of like that whole season was a pilot, and season 2 is the real show.
See, yeah, like I said, I love the movies. I read the books. I read The Hobbit. I read the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They're great books. They were great movies. And yeah, when I watch this, it's just, and I say it all the time here, I'm just not a big fan of a lot of modern TV shows, series, whatever, because it's just, I don't know. There's something about the way they tell a story the way it kind of drags on. I don't. It's just
I don't know. Do you want like the 3-camera sitcom where it's a half hour, easy to digest, 20 episodes a season kind of thing? You don't.
yes.
Okay. Well, yeah. Nowadays, it definitely is like small little movies, and
But it's still paced weird.
sometimes they are. Fun fact is, Marvel has had some issues with their Disney Plus series, and we found out recently that they don't have showrunners. So a showrunner is the head writer, and he basically makes all the creative decisions in a show. But in film, the director has the power, and well, the producers if they're putting forth the money. But it's that kind of power shift. So what Marvel did is they would get the head writer, to write all the scripts. But then if there's 4 different directors in a show, each one would do their episode the way they wanted because they had ultimate power, and that sometimes changed the tone. And that's why sometimes these shows would feel disjointed. Why you'd have an
Yeah.
episode that felt so different from the next episode, and while altogether it didn't feel like one big cohesive story, it felt like a stretched movie, if you will. And I believe this is for Lucasfilm and everything, all the Disney Plus shows. But recently, they've decided to have a showrunner, and the first show to do that is going to be, I believe, Agatha All Along. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes.
I hope it does well. She's awesome. I love. What's the actress? I forget her name. but-
Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, she's great.
She is great.
So,
And I like Aubrey Plaza's in it as well.
oh, nice.
Yeah, and she's a main character.
Excellent. She is a good actress for that, like a good character actor,
Yeah, no, I'm excited, man. And I think we'll all really like it. But getting back to Lord of the Rings real quick,
Yeah,
I do think you should check out season 2.
I
But
will.
without any spoilers, I'm not going to talk too much about that. A new movie's coming out.
Precious.
A new movie's coming out this December of Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Yes.
The search for golems?
No, that's coming out in 2026. This
Oh.
is Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim.
Oh.
Yes.
When does that take place? Is that like
It takes place definitely before Lord of the Rings. I think it might be early. I don't know, man.
But
Thousands
after-
of years. No, before.
but after Rings of Power?
Yes.
So in between those two.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's an anime.
That's right. You did. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you mentioned that.
I
yeah.
feel like it's going to turn a lot of people off because it's an anime, but it does look really cool, and it is straight out of Lord of the Rings lore. So if you give it a shot, and Peter Jackson is producing, so we could assume it's going to have the same music and it's going to have the same visual aesthetic. So even though it will be animated, I think you should give it a shot.
Oh, I will. Remember when Star Wars did like some animated shorts and stuff like that? They had them on Disney Plus. And
Are you talking? I mean, they've done a bunch of animated stuff. So are you talking about Visions, which was the
yes.
show? Okay, and then
Yes.
each show was a very different. It was like it was an anthology show.
it was cool. I thought that was really cool. And like, yeah, they like did it. They did like one episode was all anime, and that was sweet.
Yes, that was the first one, and it was the Ronin. That episode actually spawned a book. So there's a Star Wars novel about that character.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, very cool.
Cool.
So once again, back to Lord of the Rings.
Back to Lord of the Rings.
Are you going to give War of the Rohirrim a shot?
Of course.
Excellent. And then finally, Golem, The Hunt for Golem.
Yes.
Yes.
So then that's going to be Gandalf. So this will take place in the middle of Fellowship, right? This is him like searching for Gollum.
My belief is this is a prequel to the Lord of the Rings because, I mean, I guess it might take place in that middle part.
Because he was gone for a lot longer than I think people know. Like when he, was
Well,
like,
in the book is a few years, right?
like keep it hidden, keep it safe.
Keep it
He
safe.
is gone for a very long time in between when he comes raging back.
Well, there you go.
And that's what I was led to believe is when it's taking place is literally it goes on Gandalf's journey,
Well, there you go.
I think. But I could be wrong. So don't quote me.
Fair enough.
Spooky stuff.
The Banshee. Banshees are mythical creatures that have been a part of Irish folklore for centuries. They are often depicted as female spirits or fairies who appear as an omen or harbinger of death.
I always like that title. The Harbinger of Death.
I mean, yeah, that just sounds like every cool like death metal album I've ever listened to.
Be like, all right, Silver Surfers, stay on, chill out.
That's right, more like the Butthole Surfers. Oh,
What? Mine actually was a reference of a harbinger of death. What was yours?
Butthole Surfers are a band.
Really?
Yes.
Ha! You learn something new every day.
The belief in banshees has been an integral part of Irish mythology, adding an air of mystery and superstition to the tales of the Emerald Isle. Emerald Isle.
There we go.
I wanted to say that a little better.
Enunciate.
I
As,
wanted to say that
as
a little
Mary
better.
Bremer, our acting teacher, used to say.
Enunciate. If you have time to talk, you have time to leave. According to Irish...
I really liked Mary.
Gosh, hated my guts. According to Irish folklore, banshees are known for their piercing wails and keenings, which signal an imminent death in traditional Irish families. These supernatural entities are believed to warn of the death of a family member, usually by screaming, wailing, shrieking, or keening. Banshees are also associated with the mythology important mounds that dot the Irish countryside.
Yeah, do you ever see the fairy mounds, like images of them?
No.
It's very mysterious. I mean, as they say, they're dotted around the countryside. They're just randomly in the woods and stuff like that. And, some people believe that it was like, religious practices there way back when. No one knows why they're around. So some of the folklore that's come up was just like, oh, fairies live like here. Like this is their home.
Okay. No, never heard of that one, but that makes sense, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's like a natural occurring thing, so they're like, who put that there?
It's not a natural occurring thing. That's the point.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because it's fairies.
Mounds.
Banshees. Despite their fearsome reputation, banshees are not believed to cause death. Instead, they serve as a warning of it. The legend of the banshee continues to capture the imaginations of people around the world, and their enduring popularity is a testament to the power of Irish folklore and mythology. The banshee is a mythical creature with its roots in Celtic mythology. In Irish folklore, the banshee known as the Bean Sidhe, which translates to Women of the Fairy Mound. According to legend, the banshee is a female spirit who appears to foretell the death of a family member.
Can you imagine how shitty that would be, though? You're just sitting there at dinner. There's like a knock at the door. You open it, and you're just, You're like, oh God! I think Uncle Larry's dead. I mean, I'm just process of elimination. He's the one in the hospital.
Process of elimination. Yes, Uncle Larry, I think, has kicked it. Thank you, Banshee.
And then you just look over, and it's like you're the guy visiting your cousin's just choked on a chicken bone. I'm like, oh shit! I'm sorry, the Banshee. Wow. I mean, that was pretty on the spot, Banshee. You're gonna give me a little bit more warning. You're gonna tell me like a day before someone dies. No, you're gonna do it like 5 fucking seconds. That's not a lot of help, Banshee.
Like da 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 da. I am your screaming telegram.
Oh my God, Aunt Susan's dead.
Like, thank you, Banshee. It's like, do you tip? Like, like I guess they're sending a message like, hey, by the way, he's dead.
Oof.
She's dead. Yeah. Well, now they're dead.
Oh,
Old school. Over time, the Banshee's role in folklore evolved to encompass a wider range of supernatural abilities. In addition to foretelling death, the Banshee is also said to be able to cause harm to those who cross her. She is often depicted as a wailing woman with long hair and red eyes. While the Banshee is most commonly associated with Ireland, variations of the creature can be found in other cultures as well. In Scotland, for example, the Banshee is known as the Bean Signe, which translates to washerwoman. In this version of the myth.
it's weird. Washerwoman. She like washes clothes of the dead people. I'm sorry to spoil it because he's about to read it.
In this version of the myth, the Banshee is said to be a ghostly figure who can be seen washing the clothes of those who are about to die.
You walk up and be like, oh shit, you ironed my shirt. Uh-oh.
Oh no. Like just the monkey me just, oh no. Overall, the Banshee remains a popular figure in mythology.
I like figular.
Figular in mythology and folklore.
Folklore.
With many different interpretations and variations across different cultures.
All right, you get
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Banshees are a type of mythical creature that are often depicted as female spirits. They are usually seen wearing a gray cloak over a green dress and have long flowing hair. Their eyes are red and swollen as if from constantly weeping. Some legends.
There's a common theme in today's episode.
That is a bit of a theme today, isn't it? Some legends say that they can only keen while combing their hair, and they are often depicted holding a silver comb.
See, I want to know why. Like, what is that? Where does that come from? Like, do you think one account of a banshee, someone said that? Like, oh, she was just combing her hair. Like, or do banshees just comb their hair? Like, where did that come from? It's not important, and I know you don't have the answer. I'm just curious.
I mean, like in a lot of movies, like it's always like the girl in front of the mirror, like brushing her hair and singing, right? So is that just right? Is that just like what they've all? Is that what you ladies do?
I don't know, but if you're gonna be a female scary spirit, combing your hair is definitely an unnerving thing. Like, what do guys do? I guess we could bite our nails. We just look like a really nervous ghost.
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't know if I'm afraid, but I'm kind of uncomfortable.
I was gonna say it's definitely off-putting.
Yeah, there you go.
So, banshees are known for their piercing cries and mournful wails.
I was gonna say, especially in bed. Continue.
According to Irish folklore, these sounds are a warning of impending death. The banshees' cries are said to be so loud that they can be heard from miles away. Some people describe the banshee's cry as sounding like a woman screaming or a baby crying.
That's creepy, but I have another thing to talk about. The population when these myths started of people, there's just less people in the world. But now there's a lot more people in the world. Can you imagine if banshees were real and you lived in like the city? Because there's people dying all the time. And if you could hear it from a mile away, there'd just be constant screaming coming from all directions.
Like, dude,
It would be horrifying.
somebody call the Ghostbusters.
You'd live your life with just like, ah, ah, ah. It'd be like,
Oh my God, we would never sleep.
You would-
You're right. People are dying like all the damn time. Like,
Exactly. Especially in like, can you imagine New York City?
my God.
We would be screwed, man.
We live right next to Detroit. I'm just saying it's not so great over here either.
Yeah, but there is a less population.
That's true. It's true. So but still,
It would
man,
still
just,
probably be deafening.
just walking outside, just just echoing everywhere.
Can you imagine that being the thing you get used to? Because bringing up New York again, they say that like New York has a constant sound, like
Yeah.
because of all the sounds of the city. So there's like, essentially white noise all the time.
Right.
So maybe we would just get used to it.
I mean, eventually, right? But man, that's a horrible future, man. Like that just stinks. But
Just
I
to
mean,
hear like a woman or a baby screaming all the time. I mean, I'm a dad and I can't stand it when my kid screams. So
I guess the upside of that would be they're just going to have to really upgrade like soundproofing headphones and stuff like that. So everybody's just going to be walking around listening to stuff.
well, everyone's
Right.
already in their phones. So if you just put headphones on them too, well, might as well just put like the Google Glass on people and we could just walk around like zombies.
Well, we're all going to be chipped by then, so we're just going to be able to have a whole conversation without speaking.
How did I got lost, but I was found because they chipped me.
Pretty much.
Back to Banshees, which by the way, I wasn't able because I don't want to name the title anything that has swearing in it, but
Yeah.
I really did want to name this episode Bitching About Banshees.
Just because it has quite the ring to it.
Exactly.
So banshees are often associated with death and tragedy. In Irish folklore, they are said to appear before someone dies, warning the family of their impending loss. Banshees are also known for their ability to vanish into thin air, making them difficult to catch or capture. So,
Unless you have a
it's like-
master ball.
It's like we fucking tried. Like we knew Grandma was about to die, and we had nets. Like some legend.
Hold on. In my head, I'm imagining someone like throwing out a ghost trap from Ghostbusters, another person throwing out a Pokeball, and just like a guy from Predator doing like a net gun.
Right.
Damn Banshees!
And just all of them. Damn it. Didn't get it.
But you gotta catch them all.
It's like Larry caught a leprechaun. It's harsh.
He didn't catch a leprechaun. He kidnapped Warwick Davis.
Okay, you know what? Allegedly.
Alleged. Court case pending.
Yes. Come on. Innocent until proven guilty. Some legends say that if a person hears the banshees cry 3 times, they will be visited by death.
4 times, they're visited by cancer. It's Wes.
5 is way out. 2 is not thy number unless followed by 3.
Strangely, 8 is diarrhea.
8 is definitely that's the point, right? Despite their fearsome reputation of diarrhea, banshees are not known to be aggressive or dangerous to humans. Banshees have been a popular subject in Irish literature for centuries. They are often depicted as a foreboding presence, signaling the imminent death of a family member. In William Butler Yeats's poem, The Hosting of the Sidhe, the banshee is described as wild harpstring that cries out in mournful melody. Similarly, in James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, I actually like that song, the banshee is portrayed as a soul-shattering scream.
Yeah, I've always heard soul-shattering scream. Like that was always
Yes.
my understanding of what a banshee was just like this, like Scream Queen style, just horrific, high-pitched, like, you know.
Right. And yeah, like, well, I mean, in X-Men, there was Banshee, and that was his,
That was the power.
yeah, her power.
I think it was her.
I can't remember.
I think it was her. It makes sense because a banshee is a female spirit, so it would make sense that a X-Men character who is called Banshee was a woman.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. But so that's honestly how I think I got introduced to what a banshee was. And I think from Bernstein Bears. But that's a whole nother thing. it was so in one of the books.
I liked the Bernstein Bears. They used to have Bernstein Bear Land at Cedar Point
I
in
remember.
Sandusky, Ohio. It was
That's
like the
right.
kids' version. And then they changed it to Snoopy's Campground, but they didn't get rid of the Bernstein Bear shit. They just kind of renamed it.
It works.
Amusement parks.
Banshees have also appeared in various forms of media, like we were just saying, from television shows to video games. In the popular TV series Charmed, the banshee is depicted as a powerful demon that can kill with its scream. In the video game World of Warcraft, banshees are undead creatures that can paralyze their enemies with a piercing scream. The banshee is often seen as a symbol of death and mourning in Irish culture. However, some interpretations suggest that the banshee is not a harbinger of death, but rather a protector of the family. In this interpretation, the banshee's wail is not a warning of death, but rather a lamentation for the deceased.
True, but it still seems like it would be annoying as hell.
Right. It's like
Yeah. Like, okay, thank you. We all loved Aunt Susan, but please, I'm trying to watch TV.
next time, just send a card.
Flowers would have done
Yeah.
perfectly fine,
You want to
Banshee.
go above and beyond? Yes. The flowers, the card, maybe
I'm sorry, I'm just bitching about banshees.
just bitching about banshees. I love it. Overall, the banshee holds a significant place in Irish folklore and has been a popular subject in literature and media. Its cultural significance as a symbol of death and mourning continues to be explored and interpreted in various ways.
Indeed.
Banshees are often associated with death and tragedy, and many people believe they have encountered these mythical creatures. There are many stories of people claiming to have seen or heard banshees.
Once again, like heard is bullshit because anyone who hears a scream in the middle of the night, you could just be like, that was a banshee. Like how are you gonna know? Now seen, that's kind of cool. I wonder if they did see a spirit. Maybe it was a identified extraterrestrial, or maybe they were just on drugs. I don't know, man.
Could it be like a misinterpreted owl screech? Because some owl screeches are really fucking piercing and freaky.
Maybe, but that's my point. If you're just going by sound, then I don't know.
That's where my head goes. I'm like, that's like the closest thing I could say. Like, I know they gotta have owls in Ireland, so it's like
Yeah.
maybe it's just like some kind of screecher.
Oh, for sure.
These
Some kind of screech.
some kind of screecher.
Yeah, like that's an identification for an animal class.
Yes.
Those damn screechers.
It's one of them there screechers come on over here, wake me up.
I'm gonna catch a snipe. It's a screecher.
Or it was the banshee. I
Jack-
don't know why I'm depicting the
Jackalope.
Irish as southern rednecks, but there we go.
To be clear, I wasn't trying to do an Irish accent.
Neither was I. I was trying to do southern thing for some reason or another.
Excellent.
These sightings are often described as eerie and unsettling,
And a little sexy.
with witnesses reporting hearing a woman's wail or seeing a ghostly figure. I guess that depends on what you're into. In Irish folklore,
I like my women to be opaque. I like to see through them.
and I like them to be loud as holy hell.
Nothing tickles my torch like a woman
Nothing
screaming.
tickles my torch.
Is that too much? I was thinking of like what an old timey thing for like, turn you on would be. Tickle my torch.
All right. That's a new one.
On that one.
Baby, won't you light my torch? In Irish folklore, Joe, banshees are said to appear as old women with long gray hair and red eyes. They are often described as wearing a green dress or cloak. Some people believe that banshees can shapeshift into other forms, such as a crow or a hare. While there is no way to confirm the existence of banshees, the stories and legends surrounding these mythical creatures continue to fascinate and intrigue people around the world.
That's true. I am tickle me intrigued, Ryan.
It's old, it's a really old tale. It's been around a long time. And it's an Irish thing. And I mean, I'm from the Sullivan clan myself. So it's like, I can't help but be like, hell yeah. Banshees.
Nice. I mean, I always liked banshees. Like I said, I've written a few stories where, you go into a haunted castle in Ireland, there's a banshee screaming. But like, I don't know. I've just always liked them. And you know what else I've always liked was harpies too. I think we'll do that in an episode in the future.
Nice.
Yeah. But to stick with our theme today, because the banshee, as you know, because we've just talked about it, they wail, they cry, they're mourning. I was like, Ryan keeps mentioning this creature that that he thinks we should cover, that his lovely girlfriend brought up to him.
That's right. I was going to say a very special listener suggested this.
And long story short, this was the perfect time to do it because it's kind of in the same realm as the banshee, if you will.
This is for you, babe. The Squonk.
The Squonk.
Oh man, I'm going to try my best. It literally has like a scientific name. Lacrimocorpus dissolvens.
That sounds correct.
Which is the Squonk, and it is a folkloric creature and fearsome critter, reputed to live in the hemlock forest of northern Pennsylvania. Legends of squonks originated in the late 19th century at the height of Pennsylvania's importance in the timber and hunting industry. The earliest known written account of squonks comes from a book by William T. Cox called Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods, with a few desert.
Hold
desert. I said desert.
Hold on a sec. What was the name of that book?
It is called Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods.
Oh my God, that is the coolest name for a book.
With a few desert and mountain beasts, which came out in 1910.
I wonder if I can get it on Amazon. Hold on.
Maybe.
No, you can keep reading. I'm going to look it up.
The legend holds that the creature's skin is ill-fitting, covered with warts, and that
it's kind of like that really wrinkly dog.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Where it's just kind of like just all wrinkles.
Yes.
Exactly.
And because it is ashamed of its appearance, it hides from plain sight and spends most of its time weeping.
I'm so ugly, and I just cry about it
so
constantly.
Ugly. I feel you, Squonk. I feel you. Hunters who have tried catching squonks have found out that the creature is capable of dissolving completely into a pool of tears and bubbles when cornered.
Oh God!
Like he's just like, ah!
Yeah, can you imagine that? Like the tears pouring out of his eyes, and then the tears get bigger and bigger, like comically bigger, and then somehow it's kind of like he's shrinking, like he's like all the water's coming out of him, and then suddenly all that is there is the puddle.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, like I picture like the guy from the first X-Men when he just like puddled into
nothingness, kind of, yeah, right?
That's kind of what I see.
It's so weird. It's the creature is just like, I'm so ashamed of how I look. I just cry all the time. Like, hold on. That is an intelligent creature. Do you know how smart you have to be self-aware enough to assume like I am not pretty?
Mother Nature was a total jerk to the Squonk.
The Squonk, like, I only know myself as ugly.
That's awful. Poor Squonk.
Yeah.
This is for you, Squonks. A man named J.P. Wentling is supposed to have coaxed the creature into a bag, which, when he carried it home, suddenly
Get the
lightened.
bag.
Suddenly lightened. Upon further inspection, he found that all that remained was the liquid remains of the sad animal.
That doesn't sound like he melted into tears. That sounded like you got like melted into like acid, like all the liquid remains. Like, oh my God, is it a bag of just visceral guts?
It's just like an extreme defense mechanism. It's just like, I'm gonna die anyway. Just
I mean, think about it, because it melting into tears would just be water, right? So would that just leak out of the bag? Did he have a plastic bag? I have questions about this bag.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, did he?
Maybe it was a tightly sewn leather sack.
Or maybe the Squonk can just like, it'll like reform later, like out of the moisture. It'll just like,
Oh, that's what I assumed, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say it kills them. Because if they were that depressed and thought that they were that ugly, that they cried all the time, if they could just melt and die, then wouldn't they just do that?
right. So in the 2015 version of Fearsome Creatures by Hal Johnson, the Squonk is physically and actually a pig. It's covered in warts and has cauliflower ears covered in wax and hair. Its tusks are yellow and crooked, and its rheumy eyes weep constant tears. It has 4 legs, 3.5 if the right hind leg is transparent.
Wait, what?
What? It has 4 legs,
Yeah.
3.5 if the right hind leg is transparent.
Just like, well, I mean, are they just say it like it's a hypothetical?
Okay,
Because
so-
it'd be like, I have 10 toes, 11 if one of them is invisible.
I think Hal Johnson was one of those guys that just was a little extra.
All
little
right.
extra.
Yeah.
So its fearsome aspect is its contagious misery.
See, that is the only creepy part about this.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, you get close to a creature and you just get so depressed?
No.
Like crippling depression as you get close to this thing.
It's like going to SeaWorld.
Yes, or going to see your ex. Sorry.
So, the Squonk.
Moving on.
The Squonk. It lives in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. Jean Paul Wentling, Hal Johnson's arch nemesis,
Oh.
tried to catch one.
Oh my God. So there's a rivalry where another guy's like, you got a squanch? I'm going to catch a squanch.
Dude, I love it.
Because no wonder. Because if maybe he just made shit up. He's like, I caught a jackalope. Catch one, you fucker.
The race for the Squonk.
Oh my God. That is a movie we need to make, Ryan.
Yes.
We can get funding for the historical account of we should hit up Pennsylvania. Man, the state might fund that shit.
And here's where we'll win. When we get it, we're going to put it in Tupperware. We'll put it like in a plastic tub. That way, if he melts, we will have the remains. It won't go anywhere. That way,
Aha.
if he does reform later, we'll have him.
Not tightly sewn leather bags for us.
No, oh, sir.
Tupperware.
So, but like the Squonk in Jean Paul Wentling's writing, Hal Johnson's arch nemesis, he tried to catch one, but like the Squonk, he dissolved into tears and he died.
Wait,
So this
he
one
did?
says no. I'm going to see this one more time.
Yeah. Wait.
Jean Paul Wentling, Hal Johnson's arch nemesis, tried to catch one, but like the Squonk, he dissolved into tears and died.
Oh my God. That guy.
So this man died?
The guy just turned into tears and died. He got too close, got really sad, and just liquefied.
The Squonk's method of love
Wait,
and reproduction is binary fission. This took a huge leap in information.
All right.
It was just like, by the way, this dude's arch nemesis fucking died like a Squonk. So maybe the other
maybe
guy
he was a
was
squonk the whole time, Ryan.
What if he just caught like, so the contagious is not just misery, but you become a Squonk, like a werewolf.
I don't know if that's what they're saying, but now I'm scared.
I'm just tying shit together because there's missing information here, but I love it because that adds to the mystery. So, as it says, randomly, the Squonk's method of love and reproduction is binary fission. The scientific name is Thuristus lacrimosus. Lacrimosus. Thank you. So that is what we have on the Squonk
So
of
like
Pennsylvania.
the last two sentences were just like this guy turned into tears and dies, and the squawk has this weird scientific name.
And it does reproduce.
And, everything reproduces. Otherwise, there's not more of. I mean,
Well, I'm
right?
just saying,
Unless
so it's a
unless they're immortal.
right. Well, I mean,
That'd be
it's-
terrible if you hated yourself. You were so ugly that all you could do was cry, and you were immortal.
and like the phoenix, they rise from the tears.
Huh?
That sounds like a Cure song.
Yeah, rising from the tears. I
like
could see
like
that.
the phoenix, I rise from my tears.
Dude, that'd be awesome if just an album was named Squonk.
That's totally gonna be my new gothic ambient project band name, the Squonk. Dude, that actually is not a bad name for like a depressing project. Like we're Squonk.
Yeah, but then it seems like I don't know if everyone would get it. But you know what? I think that was a pretty darn good spooky stuff, Ryan.
It was, man. Two good creatures. We got the Banshee. We got the Squonk.
And you know what? The actual name of this episode will be When Banshee Met Squonk.
That's right.
Awesome. Now, guys, we're going to jump into
Disclosure discussion. Ha 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 ha. It's about aliens and stuff.
Ring camera users claim to have spotted and filmed UFOs zigzagging across California skies. This comes to us from NewYorkPost.com. Well, NYPost.com, to put it correctly.
Yes.
A flurry of California Ring camera users claim to have spotted and filmed UFOs zigzagging across the nighttime sky. Users shared reports of sightings late Friday across Palmdale and Lancaster, north of Los Angeles and close to a U.S. Air Force base.
I shot a film in Lancaster.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, it was in the desert. It was fun.
With one video showing mysterious bright lights making sudden jerky movements, and I did get to see that. It was actually, I found, kind of compelling.
Oh, yeah?
Multiple individuals have shared their accounts describing a bright light, a hovercraft-like aircraft, and unusual flight patterns. The community site 661 LASD and Lacoft calls noted on X, which is the
Which is Twitter.
LACOFD, which is their Twitter account. Me and my daughter were hanging out in the backyard when we both thought we saw a shooting star falling east. It stopped very abruptly and zigzagged going north, one person wrote. Checking to see if anyone else saw it or if we're both going crazy. But that user was far from alone.
Far from alone.
Look at this weird UFO I just filmed in my backyard, another person wrote on X, alongside an eerie video Friday night showing a lighted object flip-flopping in the night sky.
Okay, so it looked like a shooting star, and then it started zigzag. It stopped and started zigzagging, right? So hypothetically, it is near an Air Force base, so couldn't it have been like a missile or something that gets launched as like a test, and then it backfires or breaks? Maybe they were trying to like see if we could disarm missiles that are coming towards us. Whatever, they hit a button, it gets all scrambly, starts shooting off in different directions, cartoon style. Or do you think it was UFO? I mean, you saw the video. What do you think?
I found it compelling. I think this is some of the best UFO footage we've gotten in a while myself, just because it does seem pretty. It's very out there. It's very extraordinary. You'd have to see it, but to describe
Personally, you're a believer, though.
it doesn't look fabricated. It happened with multiple Ring cameras. We have multiple reports. This was a real mass sighting.
Wow. All right. Fair enough.
Another quote here. You guys, you won't believe what I just saw. Another Ring app member posted. I saw a UFO. I was walking my dog in my backyard and saw a bright light in the sky. Please tell me if I'm not the only one who saw it. Another person said they spotted them after going outside, intrigued by other reports. So literally, they were around for a while.
Yeah. Enough time that you could find out. Yeah.
They were too far for me to confidently say they were flying saucers. But did anyone see multiple? We counted 6 after being out there for about 10 minutes, that user wrote. Palmdale is near Edwards Air Force Base, which is the second largest base in the U.S. Air Force. It's long been a center for advanced aerospace testing and numerous UFO sightings.
See, that's just it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm all about learning. I mean, I'm all about believing the UFOs. I want to believe the UFOs. But when we're that close to an Air Force base, I think it's more likely that it's reverse engineered UFOs created by us.
I can honestly say I used to live like right in the line of sight when planes would be coming like straight at you to come to the airport, because the airport was like directly behind where I lived. And so many times late at night, I'm like, please zigzag.
Yeah.
Do something crazy. Because when you're seeing just the headlight coming at you, you're like, what is that?
Yeah. I want
Like,
it to be a UFO.
Right. So even just a normal, airplane that I saw. So I couldn't imagine, seeing crazy testing things.
Sure.
Some reports claimed that local law enforcement was investigating. However, the Lancaster and Palmdale Sheriff's Departments denied that, telling the Post that UFOs would come under the purview of the Department of Defense, which has not responded to the reported sightings.
Yeah, they're just passing the buck. They're like, we don't want to fucking deal with this. We're cops. What do you want?
Right. They've always been so useful when it comes to UFOs before.
Well, sometimes as witnesses. Some of the
You're right.
best
We
witnesses
actually
have
have
been
covered.
police officers. Yeah.
We have covered where in the past we've had like straight up, I think, a sheriff or a chief reporting it. If you live in the Lancaster area and happen to spot this UFO, we'd love to hear about it. If you have a story to share, feel free to contact us at Earthling Entertainment at earthlingentertainmentpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. So once again, anybody who may have witnessed it, we'd love to hear your story.
We would. So we've got an additional report here on today's disclosure discussion. Police chiefs focus on UAP in new official handbook. This comes to us from coasttocoastam.com. Police chiefs across the U.S. have released the first law enforcement handbook on unidentified aerial phenomena. The 11-page guide, issued by the Major Cities Chiefs Association, compiles firsthand accounts of UAP and provides a framework for reporting these phenomena. Among the noted encounters of a 2023 sighting by an officer in Georgia who described seeing a triangular craft with green lights gliding through the night sky. Another report details how officers in Michigan witnessed 3 strange flying objects that vanished abruptly. The objects appeared to drift towards the east, maintaining equal distance, the link report stated. As we watched the objects, they appeared to blink out of our vision. The document also includes testimony from government whistleblowers, such as U.S. Air Force officer David Grush, who spoke about aircraft of non-human origins during last year's highly publicized congressional hearings on UAP. According to the handbook, these unknown crafts may pose significant safety risks to law enforcement, especially helicopter units.
I'm just saying, they're taking this seriously enough now that it is in the police handbook of how to deal with UFOs. To me, that means that aliens are coming, the government knows about it, and they're just trying to prep us slowly. They're like, we got a timeline. We know they'll be here in 30 years. So we're going to start the disclosure discussion now, and slowly now it's in the handbook. And it was funny because you just mentioned cops, and I'm like, oh, he doesn't know about the next story. I snuck it in.
That's right.
So what do you think about that? What do you think about police having an official, come on, man.
If they're going to be truthful, they're going to come out, when it comes to this subject, we all know you have to have an open mind. If you're going to have an open mind, then, I welcome anybody from any profession, of course. But when it comes to when cops work along with like a cover up, that's when I'm like, come on, man.
Well, you don't know if they're doing that. I'm just
saying. You don't know, right? But if they are.
Earthling Entertainment Special Report. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are skipping the presidential election. South Park to return in 2025.
And I don't blame them.
Inside Out 2 passes Jurassic World to become the 8th highest grossing film of all time.
Wow.
Alien Romulus is now the 2nd highest grossing film in the Alien franchise.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
And this has been an Earthling Entertainment Special Report.
Right on. Well, UFOs. I always like in movies that most of the time they are human proportions, human size. But what if they were giants? Like, what if a UFO shows up and they come out and they're like literally like 30 feet tall? Fuck 9 feet, 30 feet tall. Or what if they were really small? What if a spaceship lands and it's the size of like your car and like hundreds of aliens come out and they're the size of like G.I. Joes?
It's a possibility.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, where would they land if you had a tiny little spaceship? Would you perhaps land in a stadium where a concert was happening? I don't know.
I don't know. Would they get noticed?
I don't know. They
Then-
would. The
then-
band might even stop. We might even need the police to confirm that it was a drone and not a tiny little spaceship.
Drone, you say?
I do say, on this week's
Music Mumbles.
Green Day show paused by unauthorized drone.
spaceship.
This comes to us from musicnews.com. Green Day had to pause their Detroit concert after a drone reportedly appeared. This happened just last week. The pop punk veterans were playing the Comerica Park Stadium as part of the Saviors Tour when they were forced to stop performing Longview, one of my favorites, due to the potential safety issue, which Billboard claims was an unauthorized drone use.
Or a tiny UFO.
Could have been. You're coming in, you're going to come see Green Day.
I'm just saying, you're stopping a concert. They thought it was a possibility. Now, they probably more thought it was probably like a drone that might do something dangerous, but they may have believed it was a tiny UFO. We don't know, Ryan. Men in Black could have liked Green Day and been like, shh, shut it down.
This is a possibility, Joe. I mean, that's the easiest explanation, right? Oh, it was a drone. It was an unauthorized drone.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
They weren't tiny aliens. They weren't G.I. Joes coming to kick our ass.
However, they did resume the song and finish the show. Frontman Billy Joe Armstrong said after performing Welcome to Paradise, another favorite, "Ain't no motherfuckers that's gonna stop us, I'll tell you that." Addressing the interruption, Green Day later posted to X, "Detroit, sorry for the delay in the show tonight. Stadium security had us clear the stage while they dealt with a potential safety issue. DPD quickly resolved the situation, and we were able to continue. Thanks for understanding." The latest concert delay comes weeks after their concert at the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater in Missouri was impacted by a big lightning storm. The trio had to rush through Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, to get off the stage. I saw that video too, and advised fans to flee to safety. He said, "Okay, you guys, that's it. We got to get you out of here because there's a big lightning storm that's coming right now. Thank you so much." Good for them for looking out for everybody.
Oh, yeah, you definitely want to look out for everybody. But maybe the band of Green Day is cursed. And
I
now
was just
every
thinking that.
concert is going to be interrupted by some shenanigans.
And this is not the first time I've seen them have to deal with bullshit like this. It's like, it's hilarious. It's like, out of all the bands, it's like, I wouldn't think that Green Day would be like the most punk right now. Like, they're dealing with a lot of bullshit. And it's like, a lot of chaos, a lot of anarchy. I love it.
I don't know. So all jokes aside, probably wasn't a tiny UFO. It's
Well-
a drone, right? So you think they were just trying to get a free view of the concert? Like, they're
Yes.
like, I'll fly over the concert and just like record it and watch it. No one will notice.
I guarantee that's exactly it, right? It probably had like a nice camera, probably a nice microphone.
Yeah.
They were just trying to get some good footage of it to get some views.
Do you think they catch the person, or do you think they just get the drone, right? Like, there's no way to track it through Bluetooth. I mean, maybe if you're like an FBI agent, but they didn't see this coming, so I'm just assuming there's normal police and stadium people involved. It's not like they have like, forensic team. So
No.
do you find the person who has the drone, or do you just get the drone?
It's like Green Day has their own just secret service, and they found him. And like they're like, "Oh, thanks, guys," and they get on the bus, and then they look back, and here he is, just chained up, like in the back, like.
You want to watch our show for free, you son of a bitch. I will say it's funny. You never know, because Blink-182 has Tom DeLonge, and he's really into the UFO scene. So that brings me back to Tiny UFO, and we've gone full circle.
And now Tom DeLonge has found a shrinking ray, and he shrunk himself to join the miniature alien people, and he was on board the spaceship.
and he wants to derail Green Day's career.
Yes.
We figured it out, guys. If we're gonna make a weird satire movie that isn't real, kind of like the Weird Al movie or Walk Hard, that's what it's about now.
The
Tom
battle,
DeLonge using aliens and shrink rays to try to take down Green Day.
the Battle of Green Day and Blink-182.
Yeah, that was a weird tangent.
Remember that guy? Remember that gal? Well, now they're dead.
James Earl Jones, legendary Darth Vader actor, dead at 93.
Very sad. Obviously very impactful for everyone who watched Star Wars and Lion King in the 90s.
This comes to us from Collider.com. The entertainment world is mourning the loss of one of its most iconic voices, James Earl Jones, the legendary actor who brought to life two of cinema's most memorable characters, Darth Vader in Star Wars and Mufasa in The Lion King. Passed away this morning, it was yesterday morning at his home in Dutchess County, New York. He was 93 years old. His death was confirmed by his representatives at Independent Artist Group, marking the end of a career that spanned over 7 decades and left an indelible mark on film, television, and stage. Jones was one of the few entertainers to achieve EGOT status,
EGOT. So an EGOT's a huge deal. It means you've gotten all the major awards.
having won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar honorary, and Tony Award. Jones will forever be remembered as the chilling voice behind one of the greatest villains in cinematic history, Darth Vader. His booming, authoritative voice brought a menacing gravity to the iconic Star Wars character, transforming a masked figure into a terrifying force of nature. Though he never physically donned the black helmet, it was Jones's voice that gave life to the Sith Lord, starting with the original Star Wars trilogy in 1977 and later reprising the role in Revenge of the Sith 2005, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story in 2016, before making his final appearance as Vader in the 2022 Disney Plus series Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I really like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I know a lot of people hate all new Star Wars that has anything to do with Disney making it and all the shows especially, but I thought Obi-Wan Kenobi was really good. My only criticism is it was clearly a movie script you
Yes.
stretched into a miniseries.
Yes, exactly. And his voice work in that was phenomenal
Absolutely.
for that being his last thing. It was
You
so
can't
good,
beat it, man.
dude. His voice remains one of the most recognizable in the world, synonymous with Vader's chilling words, "I am your father." Jones retired from voicing Vader after that, but gave his blessing to be recreated using technology.
Yeah, so basically the Darth Vader voice Disney owns now. They paid him. They were very respectful. A lot of people are worried about AI recreations of their voice or their bodies, and a lot of actors aren't down for it. But he made a deal. He was like, and I don't know the particulars, but I'm sure it had a time limit. I'm sure it was like, you could use my voice for Darth Vader and only Darth Vader for the next 75 years or whatever the hell the deal was. I don't know.
Right. His reach extended far beyond the dark side of the Force. His deep, resonant tones also grace the character of Mufasa, the wise and noble king in Disney's The Lion King, 1994. As Mufasa, Jones's voice became a source of strength and comfort, delivering lines that touch the hearts of millions, such as the memorable advice to his son, "Remember who you are."
I always think of the meme of a T-Rex in the clouds talking to a chicken.
Jones reprised the role of the 2019 live-action animated hybrid, a testament to the...
Yeah, he did Mufasa again in the live-action 2019 one, which was actually...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was him again. He was Mufasa.
A testament to the indelible impact he made on the character and audiences worldwide. James Earl Jones, we salute you.
And you will be missed. And he absolutely will be. It is cool that we will have more Darth Vader. I am appreciative of that. But, he's done so much more that people, if you're a fan of the film, Conan the Barbarian, he was the evil king in the first film. That
The
was a good one he did.
Sandlot.
The Sandlot. He owned that big, the beast, the dog.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yeah. Jinx.
He was the friendly blind guy.
No, and I feel like Lion King was like almost all of our generation's like real
It was
first
Macbeth.
dealing with death.
Yeah.
Like it really kind of was.
Well, it was really sad. I mean, that whole scene. I mean, but to be fair, Disney loves killing parents.
They do.
They're just all about just murdering everybody's like parents.
It's totally true.
Bambi's dead. What is it? Tarzan's parents are dead. We got Frozen parents are dead.
They touched on that in Wreck-It Ralph 2 when she runs into all the Disney princesses and they all like go down the line of all the things that they all have the same and they're all like dead parents.
Yeah.
She's like, oh God, no.
James Earl Jones.
Man,
You will be
the
missed.
man.
The man.
The man.
Earthling Entertainment headlines.
We don't love Orlando Bloom's AI mention as he teases return in new Lord of the Rings movie. This comes to us from Nerdist.com. There and back again. As the famous saying goes, Bilbo Baggins felt that was the theme of his life in The Hobbit, and now life is reflecting art. We are all going there and back again to the world of The Lord of the Rings. In early 2023, we learned that the new live-action The Lord of the Rings movies were in the works at Warner Brothers Discovery. And now, our most recent updates reveal that Peter Jackson will once again craft these fantasy films. Additionally, we will see these new live-action The Lord of the Rings movies sooner than we think. The first of the new Lord of the Rings films will release in 2026. It will be titled Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, and will focus on Andy Serkis's Gollum.
Yeah. And like you mentioned earlier that you think this takes place pretty much the first 10 minutes or let's say 20 minutes of Lord of the Rings. Then we have the hunt for Gollum.
Yeah.
And then Gandalf comes running back into Frodo and he's like, do you have it? Is it secret?
Yes.
Is it safe?
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I heard. That's what I believe.
Fair enough. So we're going to call this a prequel, even though it's not exactly a prequel.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's a weird, like, it's a lore. It's like in the middle of the movie.
Meanwhile, where Gandalf is.
Right, exactly. Most recently, Orlando Bloom, who plays the elf Legolas in the Lord of the Rings movies.
And he reprised it in The Hobbit.
He did, and did a pretty good job. Expressed interest in returning for the film. But his tease of what the future would look like had fans raising their eyebrows.
Yes. Because he's old now. I mean, that's just the fact. He did the first movies in 2001, and according to the timeline, he would be like that age. It would be different if The Lord of the Rings was a sequel and it took place, let's say, 2,000 years into the future. Then he could be old Legolas.
And I mean, to be fair, they did a pretty decent job, but you could tell he aged when
The
he
Hobbit.
played The Hobbit, but that's supposed to be a prequel. So
Well, they've gotten better.
you just let it go because it's reality.
Yeah.
He's going to age. So Bloom shared, oh man, those things are amazing. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I guess with AI, you can do anything these days. But if Pete says jump, I say how high, meaning Peter Jackson. I mean, he started my whole career.
Yeah, you got to respect the guy who gave you your start.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like he trusts him. Bloom also noted, I really don't know what they are planning. I did speak to Andy Serkis, and he did say they were thinking about how to do things. I was like, how would that even work? And he was like, well, AI. And I was like, oh, okay. It was a pretty magical time in my life, and it's one of those things where there's not a downside to it.
Yeah, so he definitely wants to do another one. And before everyone gets all pissed off about AI, so they de-aged people since they did it in Rogue One. They've done it in Guardians of the Galaxy. So de-aging people is nothing new. So them using AI as a tool to de-age someone is not any worse than a artist taking time to do it on a computer themselves. So if those other versions of de-aging people didn't piss you off, this one shouldn't. And if those other versions did piss you off, well then I guess yeah, be mad.
Yeah, if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. But I think you can probably be missing out.
Yeah.
We'd prefer recasting these iconic roles. So this is obviously from the article here.
Yeah.
This doesn't speak on our part.
This is Nerdist.
Yeah. We'd prefer recasting these iconic roles and giving new actors a shot instead of using AI on actors who have already had their turn, depending on how heavily AI is applied in the scenario. Of course, Bloom was speaking casually, so it's too soon to understand what level of AI might be involved. Even still, though, we feel wary of the note once again on nerdist.com, but we guess we'll have to wait and see what Peter Jackson has in store.
Yeah, I mean, like I just mentioned, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
They're already fucking doing it. Who cares if you want Legolas in it, and who cares if Orlando Bloom's doing it and they de-age him? Who cares if Orlando Bloom's doing it and they use makeup? And who cares if they get a different actor? Legolas will be in it if Legolas is going to be in it.
I will say that if they got a new actor, I would have understood.
Well, the problem is it does take place in between the Lord of the Rings, right? So it would be disjointed.
It would, but yeah, I guess going the AI route is just the best, right? So then so I must be right then. That's what I'm thinking, because it makes sense that that's why they're going this route, because they're like, we got to do our best to have you look the way you did in Fellowship.
Sure, and I bet in 20 years we're going to look back and be like, well, it doesn't look very good, but I bet when it comes out, we're going to be like mind blown. I mean, do you like old CGI when we were in high school? You watched like the Scooby-Doo movie, and I remember Scooby-Doo looking kind of fake, but I watched it recently and he looks so fake.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of things haven't aged the best.
So, they're going to do their best, and I'm sure it'll be great. But you know what else? Let's just jump into headline number 2, because let's talk about this historic Emmy run.
Here we go. FX series Shogun breaks Emmy record with 14 awards for a single season.
What?
This comes to us from IGN.com.
Hold on. I do want to say real quick that Game of Thrones got 12 Emmy nominations. They had the record. Then White Lotus had 13 Emmy wins, and now they had the record. And now this one beats it with 14 wins. So we keep going.
Here we go. The feudal Japan set FX series Shogun has won 14 primetime Emmy Awards and set a new record for the most earned by a single season of TV. Here we go. Best casting for a drama. Best cinematography. Best guest actor for Nestor Carbonell. Yep. Best main title design. Best period costumes. Best period fantasy hairstyling. Best period fantasy makeup. Best picture editing. Best production design. Best prosthetic makeup. Best sound editing. Best sound mixing. Best special visual effects. Best stunt performance.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to blow your mind right here. Did you know that Emmys go over 2 weekends?
No.
So this is just the first weekend.
Oh.
So they can potentially win like 20, 30. I don't know, not that many, but they could win a lot more.
Huh.
Yeah. So they beating the record on the first weekend is a huge deal, because they're gonna win best picture. I mean, not best picture. It's best drama at the Emmys is the big one. So they're
Wow.
probably gonna win best. And they're like, so all the big awards they haven't even given away yet.
That's crazy. Yeah,
So-
I was gonna say these are like
They seem
very, very specific awards.
exactly. So like the ones that you'd think of where it was like best actor in a drama series, like those are in the next weekend.
Oh man.
So they're killing it.
So we might have to add that to the next week. Shogun arrived earlier in 2024 as a retelling of James Clavell's classic novel, which recounts the story of Lord Toranaga as he navigates a complex political battlefield to overcome his rivals. It earned high praise from critics, with IGN's own review giving Shogun a 10 out of 10. FX's adaptation of James Clavell's Shogun places characters over combat for a complex and beautiful tale of intrigue set in feudal Japan. The show was originally planned as just a single season, adapting the entirety of Clavell's novel, but was later renewed for a second and likely a third season too. FX CEO John Landgraf said in July that the team were already working on the second season, meaning it may arrive sooner rather than later, and we couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting thing because, like they said, they adapted the whole novel in the first season. So they're basically just coming up with what comes up next based on historical accounts, because I do believe Toranaga is based on a real person. Well, the real events happen historically around that time, whether he existed or not. So they're gonna kind of have a balance of storytelling. It'll be very interesting to see what they do.
It will be. No, I'm into that. Evidently, I've got to add that to my list. I need to watch Shogun.
It's really good. It's subtitled a lot of the time when people are talking in Japanese. So
I don't mind.
basically, they speak in English and they speak in Japanese, and that's subtitled. And then it's funny because anytime they're speaking like Portuguese, it's also in English. They did not subtitle that, so I thought that was interesting.
All right.
Yeah, it's a fun ride. You know what else is a fun ride?
Huh.
Silly 80s cartoons.
Oh boy. Here
Yeah.
we go.
Are you ready for this headline number 3, Ryan?
Number 3.
Number 3.
Allison Brie will play Evil Lynn in the live-action Masters of the Universe movie. This comes
Masters of the Universe! Masters of the Universe, it's He-Man, it's pretty cool. Come on, yes, I do it. It's a He-Man, pretty cool, and I'm done.
This comes to us from Nerdist.com.
Sorry, did you like my little thing?
I did.
I was having a freestyle a little bit.
I did.
But I'm not a rapper, so I'm just going to repeat myself.
No, it was, you have the power. Isn't that the thing? Yeah.
Well done.
The live-action Masters of the Universe finally has a release date and a new home with Amazon MGM Studios. After the long gestating Mattel film bounced from Sony to Netflix to the dark universe of cancellation, fans were not sure if they'd ever see He-Man's sword and iconic Bob come to the big screen.
Yeah, he does have that stupid bob.
Yeah. The last live-action film was way back in 1987. So
Dolph Lundgren.
we
he was He-Man.
oh boy. So we are certainly due for another round. Now, we know that it is happening. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the live-action Masters of the Universe movie will release worldwide on June 5th, 2026.
Honestly, 2026 has a lot of really good movies coming out, so I need to not die,
That sounds like a good idea.
right?
Let's not die,
Oh,
so that we
yeah.
can see these movies.
Excellent.
And
If
then
there was
after that,
if there
we're
was
good.
if there was only a reason to stay alive that much longer, not to see your kids grow up. Nope, just to make sure you get to see Masters of the Universe.
That's right. That's right. Priorities.
You know how they always do porn parodies in movies?
They do.
You know this has to be Masturbators of the Universe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like it's just so easy.
Oh yeah. He-Man's sword. Come on.
Well, the dude's already running around in a loincloth.
Right.
Yeah, it's very easy to turn that into a porn.
Very easy indeed, Joe. They've done it with less. That is still a long wait. So, hopefully, this movie delivers the goods for the fans. Allison Brie, whom fans will know from a wide array of film and television projects, including
Annie from Community.
Community, Glow, and Horse Girl, has joined the cast of Masters of the Universe. She'll play Evil Lynn, one of the, shocker here, villains of the story. In the original animated series, Evil Lynn is a witch and Skeletor's second in command. In the 1987 canon film of the property, Meg Foster and her terrifying eyes played Evil Lynn. Camila Mendes, whom many of us know as Veronica from Riverdale, will portray Tila in this film. She's the captain of the Royal Guard at Eternos' palace and trains Prince Adam of Eternia.
Yeah. Kevin Smith got a lot of flack because his version of He-Man made Tila a very main character. So it was labeled as woke and everyone got really pissed off. But it was funny because it was cut into 2 parts. And if you watch the second part, like He-Man comes back and it's like, it is a He-Man show. But everyone got all pissed off because of the way that Netflix released the first part.
I didn't get exactly what I like, but I didn't film it.
Exactly.
Come on, people. The movie already revealed that Nicholas Galitzin will play He-Man. in the long-awaited movie. We previously learned that Kyle Allen would star as He-Man, but that it seems is no longer the case.
Yeah, like it said, it was moved around in development hell. So, I mean, they had different cast members. It was going to be a show. It was going to be a movie. It was going to be this. So, things change.
Okay. So Nicholas Galitzin, who recently acted in Red, White, and Royal Blue, and
Yeah, that's the name of the show.
No,
Red,
so-
White, and Royal Blue.
I've never heard of it, so I didn't know. And The Idea of You will now play He-Man in the live-action Masters of the Universe film.
Masters of the Universe.
Other casting details for the movie are unknown at this time. However, Travis Knight will direct this Masters of the Universe live-action film with Chris Butler penning the script.
I want to say that Travis Knight is a really good fit for this as a director. He is the one who kind of saved Transformers because I'm not sure if you realize this, but Michael Bay made all of the Transformers at the beginning, and his last one, which was called The Last Night, it was like Transformers 5, I believe. It just didn't do really well, and it wasn't really that good of a movie. And finally, the quality of those films caught up with the franchise, and people just weren't giving a shit anymore. So they're like, all right, we're going to do a soft reboot. It's going to be a prequel, take place in the 90s. We'll get Haley Steinfeld in it and John Cena, and it'll just be a Bumblebee-focused movie. And Travis Knight directed that, and he did a great job rehabilitating that franchise. So if anyone can take something as goofy as Masters of the Universe and turn it into something that people want to watch, Travis Knight is the guy to do it.
Okay.
I respect this choice.
Okay, cool. So Mattel Films, Robbie Brenner, and escape artists Todd Black, Jason Blumenthal, and Steve Tisch are producing. Masters of the Universe has been around for over 40 years. First making its action figure debut in 1982 with a popular animated TV series to follow. So we'll be excited to see where this live action movie goes. Here's a synopsis of what fans can expect in the film.
10-year-old Prince Adam crashed to Earth in a spaceship and was separated from his magical power sword, the only link to his home on Eternia. After tracking it down almost 2 decades later, Prince Adam is whisked back across space to defend his home planet against the evil forces of Skeletor. But to defeat such a powerful villain, Prince Adam will first need to uncover the mysteries of his past and become He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe.
As mentioned, this film is slated to release on June 5th, 2026. Hopefully, it will not have to move around again. For now, we will just have to wait and see if this return to Eternia packs a powerful nostalgia punch. But yeah, so this actually, I'll admit when I was a kid, I didn't care for He-Man or anything. Like I swear the most I know about He-Man came to me from Robot Chicken.
That is kind of hilarious. I wasn't a huge fan of the cartoon or anything, but I did have a lot of the toys.
I had the sword
You had the sword?
that lit up and shit when I was a kid.
Well, you had the power.
I had the power.
Oh, awesome. And you know what? Let's just jump into something else that had the power. The MCU. I say had the power because unfortunately their dive into the multiverse has come with many hit or miss projects to say the least. But with Deadpool and Wolverine hitting it and Secret Wars promised to come, will the multiverse saga actually be something worth watching? Let's see. Ryan, jump into headline number 4.
Number 4, Secret Wars could be the perfect conclusion for the multiverse saga. This comes to us from Collider.com. From the loss of its major stars to an overabundance of content, there are many reasons why the MCU has begun to decline since Avengers Endgame. But one of the biggest is the complexity of the multiverse storyline. Similar to time travel, it's a concept that has to be limited and risks evolving into something uncontrollable. Perhaps the best way to end the multiverse saga would be to merge the universes into the main timeline. Thankfully, Secret Wars already has the likely answer. For those who do not know, the original Secret Wars story features the merging of many other characters into a single planet called Battleworld. with heroes and villains alike being forced to face off in a massive battle. The merging of the universes could be the perfect way to end the multiverse saga and return the MCU to a single timeline.
Which they have pretty much said that is the plan. We are doing the first next Avengers movie is going to be Doomsday, where we get Doctor Doom being the main villain. But Doctor Doom actually controls Battleworld. Like he's the guy, he's the puppeteer, I do believe. And that will end the multiverse saga. So they're speculating because it hasn't been officially announced. But I mean, kind of like Age of Ultron wasn't exactly like the comics. Kind of like, all these films are adaptations. I'm sure it won't be exactly like Secret Wars, but it should be and will be the end of this phase.
I think that's the best move too. With the multiverse saga confirmed to be nearing its end, the big question is where the MCU will go from here. And the answer might be right in front of us. We've already seen the first hints of mutants in the MCU, such as the post-credit scene for the Marvels and the presence of Illuminati in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, the post-credit scene in the Marvels is spoiler, Beast, man. Beast, like straight up Kelsey Grammer is Beast. It was really cool.
That is sweet. And that was in the Multiverse of Madness for a few scenes.
The Illuminati was in the
Illuminati, yes. Most recently, Deadpool and Wolverine was the perfect goodbye to the older Fox canon, both the good and the bad. With that era of films now over, the next incarnation should not be too far away, especially with the Fantastic Four already facing a clear reboot of their own. Bringing the history of the mutants into the MCU could create new types of conflict, perhaps setting the stage for an Avengers vs. X-Men film down the line. I could see that.
Well, I mean, I could see that in context of a Secret Wars, but they're both good teams. I don't know why you would attack the X-Men. I mean, I guess if we were going to play like mutants just showed up and we're not used to mutants and we were afraid they're a threat, I guess you could do that.
Maybe compose, just like combating like ideas, like a Civil War kind of thing they could probably do.
Sure.
For longtime X-Men fans, the only dream greater than seeing Hugh Jackman finally wear the yellow suit on screen would be a proper crossover. Now, 5 years after the Fox buyout, this idea might finally be close to becoming a reality. And I love how Deadpool said to him, he's like, they're going to make you do this till you're 63.
Yeah, they're going to make you do this till you're 90.
Like, 90 after you're 90.
I got to be honest, though. It's funny because I was going to make fun of you for messing up Hugh Jackman's name. And I'm looking here. And yeah, no, the article misspelled it. It says Hugh Jackson.
And I was like, and you know me, Ron Burgundy, I read what's on the prompter. So I did fix it. But no, I'm into that. I'm down to. That's a great idea because the multiverse stuff gets a little crazy, and I think Deadpool said it best. He has this whole rant when he sees all the different versions of himself, and he's just like, it's just been so overplayed.
I do like the multiverse saga personally. I like variants. I've liked pretty much everything they've done for the most part. I will say, though, it doesn't feel like one cohesive story. Whereas when we were dealing with the Infinity Stones, they all still felt like they were somehow connected. Whereas this one, like, let's say Eternals, let's say Shang-Chi, how is that connected to the Marvels? How is the Marvels connected to, it's just, and I'm sure it'll be revealed that some of these films have not been taking place on 616, which is the cinematic universe Earth. Like maybe the Eternals took place in a different universe, and that's why we haven't talked about Tiamat, the giant half-human coming out of the planet.
I mean, that tracks.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't know. But I like it. I don't know. I'm here for it. Let's see what the MCU has to bring. And in the meantime, let's watch just really weird independent films like Night Bitch.
That's right.
Have you heard of Night Bitch?
I have.
Well, here it is. Our headline number 5.
Amy Adams turns into a dog in Night Bitch.
Night Bitch.
This comes to us from HollywoodReporter.com. Amy Adams finds herself in a hairy situation in the first trailer for Night Bitch.
Night Bitch.
Searchlight Pictures releases the promo on Tuesday for writer-director Marielle Heller's horror comedy feature that hits theaters December 6th. Also starring Scoot McNairy,
Yeah, that's
Zoe Kao,
It's
And
Zoe.
thank you. And
I think it's Zoe Chow.
Zoe Chow. And Mary Holland. The film centers on an artist, Adams, who put her career on hold to become a mother and suddenly realizes that she might be transforming into a canine.
Just perhaps.
I'm never going to be smart, happy, or thin ever again, Adams says in the trailer. Oh, and I'm pretty sure I'm turning into a dog. She goes on to grapple with the power of being a woman and says, do you ever feel like the big secret is that we are gods? We fucking create life. We are so powerful. Later, Adams informs someone, I could crush a walnut with my vagina.
Good to know.
Heller wrote and directed the project that is based on author Rachel Yoder's 2021 novel of the same name, Night Bitch.
Night bitch.
I just like to say Adams, Heller, Ann Carey, Sue Nagel, Stacey O'Neill, and Christina O serve as producers. Night Bitch is set to premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival on Saturday. The film was previously intended to launch on Hulu before landing a theatrical release.
For Night Bitch.
I can't wait to see this movie. Out of all like the weird comedy, like we talk about a lot of weird comedies that come out, I'm actually excited for this one. This sounds like a funny one.
Night bitch.
I agree.
Night Bitch. So, I think that
Headline.
brings us to headline number 6.
Headline number 6, and this is the final headline of the show, and we're going to just jump right in with awesomeness. Headline number 6.
Beetlejuice has huge opening weekend.
It's fucking huge.
This comes to us from IGN.com. Beetlejuice had a massive $110 million opening weekend, marking the second biggest September debut of all time in the U.S. Variety reports that Tim Burton's horror comedy sequel, which arrives 36 years after the original and sees many of its stars reprise their roles, is ahead of 2019's It Chapter 2, which had a $91 million debut, and second only to 2017's It, the first one, $123 million debut, in the September box office debut list. As for the 2024 debuts, Beetlejuice is in third, behind Inside Out 2 and all-conquering MCU movie Deadpool and Wolverine. Beetlejuice also enjoyed a strong debut internationally, adding another $35.4 million. That makes for a worldwide total of $145.4 million off a $100 million budget. Does Beetlejuice commercial success mean a third film is now inevitable? Tim Burton has cast doubt on the possibility of Beetlejuice 3, but you never know.
Yeah, Tim Burton said he was going to be like at this trajectory. I will be like 100 and something because it's been 30 or 40 years since the last one. All right, so this is why this is a big deal. The movie cost $100 million. That's his expensive movie. Now you have to add usually between, let's say, $10 and $30 million they would spend on budget. So it making its production budget back in the first weekend is a really big deal. That doesn't mean that the movie actually gets to take home $110 million because you got to remember that the theaters take a cut, so they don't get all that money, and the marketing. So they are not in profitability yet, but they'll probably start making money next weekend, something like that, maybe in a few days. And that's a good thing because Tim Burton, man, I believe this is his second biggest opening ever. I think Alice in Wonderland did a little bit better, but yeah, so good news all around. I don't think they'll do a third one. Do you?
I don't think so. I could see them maybe doing maybe a short or something like that. Like I could see them maybe just
to play around with it.
With a Jennifer Ortega with the
Jenna Ortega.
Yeah, with her have her come back, maybe do something. I could see them kind of doing maybe that kind of thing with
Well,
it.
if they do that, they might just do a third one. But you know what? Just so we don't step on any toes, guys, we are going to jump into our Beetlejuice spoiler discussion.
Yep.
So for those of you who don't want to hear any spoilers, this would be a great time to turn off the podcast. And if you are one of those individuals, we would like to say thank you for listening to this episode. Please tell a friend. Help grow our community. We're all Earthlings. Let's join under one banner.
That's right. Ours.
Ours. Speaking of a banner, what about a sticker? Would you like a sticker? Would you like a good, awesome, professional Earthling Entertainment sticker? Well, all you have to do is hit us up at our email address, which is earthlingentertainmentpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your name and mailing address, and we will send you a sticker or two and a nice little note from your hosts, Ryan Lang and Joe Wakefield.
That's right.
All right, guys. So, Beetlejuice, spoiler review. Well, I shouldn't say review. Spoiler discussion starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, fun.
F is for friends who do stuff together.
Absolutely. So, Ryan, do you want to go first? Do you want me to?
You go first.
Okay. So, Beetlejuice. I want to start off by saying I definitely liked the film. I did. It gave me those warm, fuzzy feelings I got from the Tim Burton universe. I want to be clear that it is a very flawed movie. There are a lot of things that don't make sense. I'm gonna just bring a few up in no particular order. But in the film, the third act essentially is Lydia recruiting Beetlejuice to help her save her daughter, which is played by Jenna Ortega, because Jenna Ortega unknowingly makes a deal with a ghost to switch places where he could return to the land of the living, and she will take his place in the land of the dead. Now, this was the third act. It kind of felt like this should have been the story for the entire film. Like the entire movie should have been like, let's get the daughter from the underworld. But whatever, they made the choice, and I did like it. But while they were in the underworld, they open up a door because they're running, and they fall into this sandworm situation, which they are saying, "Oh, look, there's Saturn. This must be one of Saturn's moons." So I guess we finally established where that was. But all right, so the reason why I bring it up is in the first film, it had narrative purpose. You had our ghost characters who are in the house, and they couldn't leave the house because if they did, they were transported to this place with the sandworms. While in the sequel, they just are running around the afterlife. They open up a door, they fall into that area. It was just, we're putting sandworms in this movie for sandworms' sake. You know what I mean? We wanted to have sandworms, but it didn't actually serve any narrative purpose. Now, I got a lot of points I want to make, so we're going to go back and forth. Ryan, do you have anything you want to say about the film?
I'll say it, I feel like they felt like they had a lot to explain in the beginning. They really wanted to bring us up to snuff, and I think that's why, arguably the main plot points didn't come till way later. But what's funny is I felt like another thing that I found as kind of a flaw myself is up to that point, they were also inserting, we had 6 different stories. I felt like going on at once. Like we had so many different things, and it felt like you were pulled in so many different ways, and you're trying your best to keep up on every little thing because there really was quite a bit.
And I think the reason why is because they've been talking about this movie for 30 years. Like they've been developing this movie forever. So I think there are things in this script that were bigger parts. Like I think in the early script, maybe Monica Bellucci's character, who plays Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice's character's wife, she is in this movie, and it seems like she was probably a main antagonist in the first draft of the script. But the movie as it stands now, she's just kind of a threat who literally does not interact with our characters until the final scene.
Yes.
It's just kind of like she's off doing her thing. Then she shows up and she's like, "I'm going to kill you." And they're like, "We defeated you." And they're like, "All right."
Yep.
I'm glad that wrapped itself up.
It felt, that part of it was, I feel like they literally could have removed her and all that entirely, and the movie would have been better.
I don't know if it would have been better, but I do agree that you could have. It was kind of like Indiana Jones. He was not in Raiders of the Lost Ark, everything would happen exactly the same. It was kind of the same thing. Monica Bellucci's character did absolutely nothing, but I think she probably did in an earlier version of the script. I have something else for you. So, Jenna Ortega's character, she's driving around town after a funeral on her little bicycle. She crashes into a neighborhood, and she sees a tree house, and a guy comes out, and he's like, "Oh, man, are you okay?" And she's like, "Oh, I will come up to this treehouse and talk to this guy." It is revealed that later in the film that this guy is a ghost, and she is tricked, because he seems so nice.
I called it, by the way, when I was sitting there.
That he was a ghost?
I knew it right away.
Oh, because they were like, "Ooh, all your albums are from the 90s."
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, there was the subtle hints. But here's the thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, Ryan. Lydia drops the daughter off and basically is like, okay, have fun with this boy. It's okay. And she drops it off at this house of this ghost. Now, we find out that this ghost in the 90s killed his parents. And then when he was being pursued by the police, fell out of his tree fort and broke his neck. And that's how he died. So he died in the late 90s. I think they said like 98. All right. So Lydia in 1988 was 16 years old. So let's say in 1990, she moved out of the house at 18. All right. So you were out of the house for about 10 years. Ryan, when you were out of your parents' house for 10 years, do you think your dad or your mom might mention that a neighborhood kid murdered his family?
You'd think.
So how did Lydia have no fucking idea
Like the
that
one
that was a
person
murder house?
who talks to the dead.
Well, it's like her dad or her mom never mentioned, oh, you know what, neighborhood boy fucking murdered his parents.
That was definitely a bit of a plot hole there as well. I felt like they tried hard with the music too, which was great. They brought back doing the music, numbers where everybody is kind of forced to sing to the track kind of.
Yeah, that was the climax of the film, which they did do really well. It just took forever.
But the song was so weird, and fucking Weird Al Yankovic has ruined me, because when I heard that, all I thought was Jurassic Park is frightening in the dark. All the dinosaurs are running wild.
Oh my God,
That's
Ryan,
all I was hearing.
I bet that there's going to be a cut online of someone who puts the Weird Al song to that scene.
Well, it would fit perfectly. So it was a great parody. It's hilarious that's where, because I'd never heard the original. It's weird. But I mean, it worked. It worked for the scene because it was really off-putting. Like the dude's voice, I've never heard the original of that song before. So that whole scene was it fit. I like that they did a lot of the zany things, like his eyes popping out of his skull,
All the cartoony things.
Yeah, they did that.
Well, I mean, it felt tonally like a Beetlejuice sequel. Like if you're just trying to be, like I said, if you're just trying to feel like you're in that world again, they did a good job.
And it was hilarious.
It was hilarious. And I want to say they also did a really good job of Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin were the ghosts in the first film. I just wanted an explanation why they weren't in the film. And I got one. They were like, oh, they found a loophole. They moved on.
Yep.
Now, I don't know why we needed to say they found a loophole. I feel like you just could have said they moved on, but whatever. Explanation, I'm good.
They got on the Soul Train.
They got on the Soul Train.
That scene was, I honestly found that scene to be really good. That was so Tim Burton.
Oh yeah, the Soul Train.
Yep, that was when she thought she was, trading places with the ghosts. So they were bringing her onto the train, and there's this huge dance and singing sequence, and it was just really cool. I just thought out of all the new ideas that they put in this movie,
when you leave that version of the afterlife and you go to when you move on to whatever it is, having it be literally the Soul Train.
I thought that was really cool. And of course I love that, and we get to see Beetlejuice's place of work, and he's got all the shrunken head dudes working for him. Bob was the man.
Oh my God. So Bob, I believe, was the shrinking head guy at the very last scene of the first Beetlejuice.
Yep.
I don't know if they actually said it, but it was implied that he was the main one. And I feel like we should start the hashtag Justice for Bob. I'm just saying.
I agree.
Yeah.
Dude, Bob was the man. And they even did an RIP
at the end of the credits. Yeah, because the whole thing is a spoiler discussion. But spoiler, Monica Bellucci's character, who is Beetlejuice's wife, is a soul sucker. And throughout the film, she kills a few people. She kills Danny DeVito, janitor, which was a great cameo.
That was great. He looked good.
And eventually kills the shrunken head guy from the last scene of the first Beetlejuice movie, Bob. And they make Bob very likable in this movie.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I mean, everybody was sad when Bob died. So in the credits, they have R.I.P. Bob, like you said.
Yeah, like a little memoir for him. And another, to go back to what I was saying about the weird music scenes, when they explain Beetlejuice's past, he literally was what was he, Spanish?
Yeah, they were speaking Spanish.
And it was a totally different voice, and he was and his backstory was really weird. It was
so that bothered you? I thought it was cool.
It was out there.
We needed a backstory eventually. So basically, when Beetlejuice is explaining, when did I get married? Well, apparently 300 years ago, because I think they said it was the 1600s. a Spanish-speaking country. I don't know if it was Spain or Mexico, but basically he is a grave robber.
I was gonna say, yeah, he was a grave robber.
He's a grave robber. He's digging up corpses. Monica Bellucci's character comes upon him, and she's like, "Ooh, saucy," and they get together. Later, he finds out that she is part of a blood cult or something evil, and she poisons him the night of their wedding. So he's dying, and before he dies, he grabs an axe and hacks her up into pieces. Now, all of this is told Beetlejuice by he does a Spanish voice, and it's definitely a different actor, and they do a black and white kind of like old film reel, and that's how they
and it's all subtitle.
yeah. I liked that. You didn't like that.
I don't want to say I didn't like it, but I mean it's definitely not my favorite part of the film.
Well, they made some weird choices because Jeffrey Johns is the character who used to play the husband of the father figure, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the late 90s, early 2000s, unfortunately, I believe it was child molestation charges. He got caught.
Total creep, yeah.
Yeah, total creep, and he's not really been in many movies since he wrapped up his stint in Deadwood, but that was about it. Well, long story short, his character is in this film, and how they handled it is the flashback that we have when the character dies is this weird clay animation. And it's a whole scene where he's in a plane, he crashes, he survives a plane crash, and then gets eaten by a shark. So later on, when we actually see the physical form, it's a guy with his no head and a big chunk ripped out of his torso. And there's a different voice. So that's how we get away with not actually showing the actor. But that weird claymation scene, while I guess it worked, I thought it was an interesting choice.
I agree.
Because it was the only thing in the movie that was that clay animation, unless you count, I guess, the sandworm.
It stood out very, very much. I agree with that. But what also made that scene good, though, to me, was the narration by Mrs. Dietz.
Yes.
Like the way he was like, "Oh my God, he drowned? No, he survived. But then he was eaten by a shark." Like just the way she did it was so good. Like the back and forth, it was
a good scene. And it was a good enough explanation of why the character wasn't in that, because it actually was the inciting incident that brought us into our story, because that character died. So, Lydia has to go to the funeral. I mean, it's her father, so she doesn't have to. She's going to the funeral. She picks up her daughter from boarding school. And and that gets our story rolling. So I do think they handled not having his character in the movie while still having his character in the movie as well as you really could have.
Honestly, that was right to the T Tim Burton solution. It was perfect. We'll just chop his head off.
I know, but why did you have the clay animation scene? You could have literally just had her explain. I bet that's what they did. I bet initially she just told the story and it was a last minute idea to put in the clay animation. Well, I don't know, because clay animation might take a while.
I was going to say that takes a while. So maybe it must have that was just their idea. He really wanted to do that. And it definitely stood out. It's different from no other Tim Burton film I can think of does that. We're just randomly bust into that.
I don't know. All right. So do you have something else you want to say? Because I got more points.
What else? I honestly just an easy thing for me to say is I was laughing so hard. Like the beginning was a little bit of a slow explanation roll, but then once the movie started rolling, I was dying laughing at all the different, everybody killed it. Michael Keaton killed it. It was so good.
They did do a good job, except I keep saying they did a good job with the characters, and they did a good job with the world. It felt like Beetlejuice, but a lot of script problems, and one of them is the ending didn't actually make all that much sense, because Lydia makes a deal with Beetlejuice, and she's like, "Yes, I will marry you if you take me to the underworld to save my daughter." Then, at the very end of the film, when all is said and done, Beetlejuice is like, "All right, all is said and done, so now we got to get hitched." And Jenna Ortega's character, the daughter of Lydia, says, Oh, I'm sorry, her name is Astrid. So Astrid says, "No, I read this book, the Handbook for the Recently Deceased, and it says that what you did to bring my mom to the afterlife was illegal, and that makes this contract now and void. So, yeah, she doesn't have to marry you." Okay, that doesn't make any fucking sense. So you made a deal that I will marry you if you take me to this place, but because you took me to this place, that deal doesn't count. I don't know. That was a really it just felt like we're at the end of the movie. We got to be done now.
That's just lazy writing. But
I feel like it was a placeholder or something. She'll come up with a different clever reason why the deal doesn't work, and that was they just forgot to change it.
And meanwhile, with all of this, we've got this weird, odd engagement between Lydia and this weird guy who's like her manager. Then you've got
One of the other storylines,
right.
yes.
Then you've got this inspector who's played by Willem Dafoe, and you've got his whole thing where he's battling his past as an actor and being a cop in the afterlife.
So he's like, all right, hold on, I got this one. He's a cop in the afterlife, and he's after the Monica Bellucci character, who is Beetlejuice's wife, right? So that actually made a little bit of sense, because if we got rid of the Monica Bellucci character, like we talked about before,
we couldn't have him.
we couldn't have him. So, it's like that's why I think this whole thing is just an amalgamation of ideas and different scripts that came together in a pretty good movie, but there are logic inconsistencies.
Yes. Yeah. And so, like I said, and so you got all that going on. You got this love, weird thing, mystery with Astrid and the ghost boy. Like, there was just, like I said, it just felt like there was just so much. Oh, yeah. And then you've got the mother who she tries to do some weird thing to mourn her husband with asps.
Yeah, she's an artist. She's a sculptor in the first one, and
she's a social media personality now in this movie,
which makes perfect sense. And so through her art of showing grieving in the process, she accidentally kills herself, like Ryan.
Yep. So now you've got her journey into the afterlife as well. That's a whole story. Her looking for her husband, him trying to find her. So we've got like all these different stories going on. Then we've got what's going on with Bob back at the office.
Right. Hold on. Kathleen O'Hare, check this out. She married to the Jeffrey Jones character in that first movie. How old do you think Kathleen O'Hare was in that first film in 1988?
30s?
She was 24.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness is right. It puts perspective into why Lydia and her had such a rough relationship in that first film, is because it's like, you're my stepmom. You're literally like less than 10 years older than me. And my dad is like this rich guy who is a bird watcher who marries this hot young artist. Like, that is a contentious relationship. And I did like in this second one how we get to see the evolution of that relationship, where you could tell they love each other and they're like together, but they're still just kind of like, oh my God, you are a silly person, but we're family.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, honestly, that's my major qualm, is like all the things I've been saying, just like, man, we got all these stories going on. It's like, man, you could have stuck with like a couple simple things,
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned earlier, Lydia has a fiance in this film, and he is a kind of a sleazeball. It is mentioned that they met at a grieving, like help each other out grieving circle, right?
Yeah.
People who lost spouses, because Lydia's husband, or I should say boyfriend, I don't think they actually got married, but the father of Astrid died. He was an activist, and he died in, I believe, South America. And yeah, we see him later on in the movie too. It's pretty cool. But anyways, she meets this guy. This guy is a predator who's looking for people who are grieving. He doesn't believe that Lydia could talk to ghosts, but still somehow worms his way into being like her manager or like a producer on the show or something like that, and gets into a relationship with her and basically pressures her into marrying him, which she agrees to do. Ultimately, it's all undone in the climax because Beetlejuice stabs him in the neck with a big truth needle, and he confesses all his sleaziness to her.
Yeah, and the jerk proposed at the wake
Of her father.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. In
Let me
front
tell
of in front of everybody.
Yeah.
No, he was the worst. You were supposed to hate him, and I did. He did a good job, There you go. He did what he was supposed to do.
He did. But so the criticism I was trying to give right here is the Beetlejuice contract getting wrapped up. Then we have the sandworm shows up and eats Beetlejuice's wife at the very end, and the sleazeball who's trying to marry Lydia. So that's their end. And then the kid who was going to switch places with Astrid, they pretty much show up, point to him, and say, "Stop that guy!" And a floor opens and he falls into hell. It just seems like they wrapped up all their storylines very quickly. Like they were like, shit, how are we going to end this? All right, it's done in a sentence. Like we
Wasn't
wrote,
it-
he falls in a hole.
Well, it was Beetlejuice, right? Beetlejuice stamped his passport, and it was like
Denied.
like tough luck, bud, or something like that. I forget what it said, but something like that. And that's when he was like, "Oh shit!" And
Yeah. But my only point is, it just felt really rushed.
it did. And I don't know what else to say that I haven't already said.
Fair enough. Well, then we can wrap it up there. I will say that my final thoughts, and then you can give your final thoughts if you
Okay.
have any,
Yeah.
is that I give the film a B because I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the ride. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. If you experience a movie and you really had fun with it, then it's a good movie. Although the script had some issues, there are some logic problems, there are certain convenient things. It's not the greatest story in the world. But if you want to jump back into the world of Beetlejuice, it is a fun movie. And even though it had its problems, for some reason, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. That's mine. What do you got to say?
I would definitely recommend it as well. Obviously the first one to me gets an A+. I'm going to give this one an A-.
Ooh, so
Like-
still in an A range though.
Very. It was so enjoyable. I loved what I got. It was better than I thought it was going to be.
You know, it was better than I thought it was going to be too. I think that's probably why I'm so forgiving, is I just assumed it would be garbage.
I was afraid it was, just going to be like, here we all are together doing this again. I feel like you get that with a lot of like old reboots of stuff like that, where they bring back everybody from the originals, that it feels like more like they're just having a good time and not really trying to tell a story. This one, they worked their butts off to tell a story. It may not have been perfect, but they did a good job.
Fair enough. You know what? A fun fact that I learned, my wife told me this the other day, that Winona Ryder had it in her Stranger Things contract, like since season 1, that if Beetlejuice happens, that they have to pause production on Stranger Things so she could do it.
I like that.
She
a
had
lot.
that. She wanted to do that movie so much that
Yeah.
when she signed onto a show, she had that written into her contract.
I'm glad to hear that, because I had heard interviews with her where she was very intimidated as well by the role, by playing an older Lydia. She was like, like it's there's so much to do there. Like what's she gonna be like?
Well, you as an actor, you come up with your character as their emotions, their feelings, their backstory, who they are, and now you've played a part when you were 16 years old. You're now in your 50s, and you have to think of, okay, if that character I played when I was a kid also is in their 50s, how would they change?
Like, yeah, that's a lot of character building, years and years and years, lots of shit going down. You know what I mean? And you got to consider, Astrid's position, what you've had to deal with your mother, your father. There's so much to build on. And honestly, she did I didn't think she'd do a bad job, but man, she did way better than I thought she would.
Well, fair enough. And you know what? I think that'll wrap it up for today's episode. Are you satisfied?
I am.
Excellent. So, guys, thanks again for listening to Earthling Entertainment. There are new episodes that come out every Tuesday. If you want a sticker, email us at earthlingentertainmentpodcast@gmail.com. That is earthlingentertainmentpodcast@gmail.com. Give us your name, your address. We'll send you that sticker. And tell a friend. Spread the word. Let's grow our community. We're all Earthlings, and let's join under one banner. Our banner.
That's right. Please stream us and download us wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're on YouTube. We're on everything, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you for listening. And thank you.
From all of us here at Earthling Entertainment.
See ya. Goodbye.